Hello Guardians, it is Ebontis here. It is June 12th and Xur has arrived. He is on Nessus over here. Where are we at? The Watcher's Grave. And he's going to be up in the big gold barge related to the Leviathan, all of that stuff. Which now we know from the Destiny content vault, the Leviathan things are going to go away. So Nessus won't look quite the same and Xur might have to find a home back in his tree. But for now, he's up here on the deck of the barge. So let's see what he's got. We've got a chance at random rolls and a couple other things. And a quick reminder, if you guys are watching this video, we are going to have our Last Word podcast tonight, twitch.tv/Ebontis, and we're going to have Amaze on there. He's an awesome streamer, so come check us out, 7 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/Ebontis. Come join us in chat. Should be a lot of fun. All right. So, first, we do have an exotic engram. Remember, this is always going to be a random piece of armor if you don't have all the armor from the current seasons. And then it's also going to be a chance at a high-level stat roll, because it does have a chance at a random stat roll as opposed to collections. But we have also been told that this season, this gear should be random stat rolls, and it all looks pretty good. So we'll talk about that here in a second. But let's get into the gear and break it all down. First thing we've got is the Sword Black Talon. Honestly, get this thing. If you don't have it for some reason yet, make sure you pick it up. And the Catalyst actually gets to be quite a bit of fun as well. So I'm almost actually done with mine. But this is two things. One, swords are very powerful right now. They're really fun to use. And they can put out a lot of damage. And then secondly, this thing actually will throw a very powerful projectile. The higher your energy level is for your sword, the more powerful the projectile. If it's full, I think it almost hits like 2x. So very powerful sword that you can use. Definitely a lot of fun for a Void Sword. Perk here is Crow's Wings, so fires a heavy projectile. Heavy attacks are stronger with full energy. Attacks partially bypass elemental shields. I think a lot of swords seem to do that. So overall, very cool shield, very cool looking shield as well. So, and it's exotic, so you know it's going to be around for a while. So if you don't have the sword, it's just straight up buy it, mess around with it, have fun. It's pretty cool. Now we get into the armor, and now I can finally actually talk about stat rolls because they're actually something that could be good. So we've got Raiden Flux for the Hunters. Synapse Junctions. Quick successive attacks with Arc Staff increase its damage output and duration. So if you enjoy using Arc Staff as a super, especially in a PvE setting, what you're able to do is make your super last so much longer by wearing this thing. So quick successive attacks will increase its damage, which is a good thing overall, doing more damage, and duration. So if you're kind of around groups of enemies, maybe they're surrounding a heavy as well, you can keep swinging and doing damage to these other enemies, and you can also make it last longer as well. So it's a really good way to make that Arc Staff super last longer, and it's one of the best ones for it. Now, we also have a stat roll over here. We've got 62 stats on this one. 9 in mobility, 13 in resilience, 12 in recovery, 7 in discipline, 6 in intellect, and 15 in strength. But overall, a 62 stat roll. Not a god roll per se, but it is definitely one of those that is at least going to be a better stat roll than what we had before in collections, which was like 48. So if you're looking for Radiant Flux and maybe you haven't got a great stat roll, or if you just got the collections pull and you want something with at least a little higher number, definitely pick this one up. All right, for the Titans, we've got the Sythoceps. Your armor perk here on these gauntlets is Biotic Enhancements. One, you've got increased melee lunge range, so you actually punch farther just all the time. Now, it's not going to be huge. It might be like 1 more meter, so maybe you're close to what a Warlock melee is like. But still a little bit of melee. Maybe you might punch that person that otherwise you would have whiffed on in that PvP battle. Now, you've also got improved melee and super damage when you are surrounded. Now, if you're using your super in PvP, you're not likely to lose unless you're just duking it out with another super. But in PvE, putting out more damage with the super is always a good thing. So if you are surrounded by multiple enemies, usually, you know, a group of smaller adds, maybe a more powerful one that you're trying to use that super on, having those enemies around you is actually a good thing. You can run up in there, and then as those enemies are around, you're going to do more damage when you use that super. Picture Thunder Crash, for example. If you use that real quick while you're, you know, surrounded in a group or something, and then you land, you're going to do more damage to the main enemy, definitely going to kill all the little ones, and that bigger chunk of damage is going to come off from this one. So the bonus to super energy is pretty nice to have, and also the melee lunge range, not too shabby in PvP. For the stats, we've got 2 in mobility. That's not my concern, really. I mean, if you're trying to get around quickly, maybe, but mobility 2 is probably okay. Pretty good stat roll for these middle 4, which is one that I typically like. You've got 11 in resilience, not too shabby. 20 in recovery, which is always a good thing, especially if it's PvP or PvE, getting the health back, regenerating faster, all good. Discipline 14, Intellect 13, especially if you're related to your super. Nice to have a decent amount in that one. Now, we do only have 2 in strength, and it is related to melee and super damage. So, your basic punches are probably going to be fine, but this roll, unfortunately, is not going to be making your melee abilities come back faster. Overall, maybe if I could move the discipline down to strength, this might be almost like a perfect roll for what it's built for. But just in general use, I like the 4 stats that are weighted pretty heavily on this one. So if you are just looking for, you know, exotic, better punching, more super damage, and just a pretty good stat roll for those middle 4, not a bad way to consider this one. For the Warlocks, we've got the Promethum Spur. Now, your perk here on these boots is going to be Embers of Light. So while Daybreak is active, defeating combatants or guardians creates a healing and empowering rift at their location. I always thought this one was weird. In theory, somebody please comment below and tell me how this one's like supposed to be cool. Because Daybreak is your, you know, solar, you know, throwing swords subclass. And while it's active, if you defeat combatants or guardians, you create a healing and empowering rift at their location. Now, if you're in PvE and I'm throwing my sword all around a room and killing a bunch of enemies, it's not bad to have rifts to go jump down into later on, but they're really not going to help me out that much as I'm floating up in the air and probably not going to jump into the mix of everything. So if something dies out in the middle of the enemies, I guess I could push up into it and be a little more survivable. Just seems weird to go make rifts at a bunch of different locations that I may not even want to get into yet. So I've always wondered if these have been nice to have. If somebody has a good use for these, please let me know. The stat roll is 60, pretty evenly distributed. 9, 10, 12, 9, 14, 6. Pretty even around across the board. You've got a 14 in intellect, 12 in recovery, 10 in discipline. Not bad, just kind of an even spread. But if somebody has a use for these or you tend to find them very beneficial for anything, please let me know in the comments below, because while they're kind of cool looking and in theory making rifts, I could see some benefits. I'm just not seeing them as being all that great. So Warlocks, unfortunately, not the favorite of exotics this season, but again, a reasonable stat roll. So if you got a lot of shards and you've got one of these that's got like a collection level stat roll at like 48 or something, you may as well at least upgrade to a higher stat roll and then stick that thing in your vault. But that pretty much wraps it up for Xur. I wasn't sure if he was going to be selling any of the other currencies that we have seen in Season of Arrivals, but overall, he's pretty much just as he is for now. But at least we've got random stat rolls, so I will be covering this every week, at least as long as I'm able to record the video. And make sure you guys tune in and check out, because you never know if the exotic you're looking for now is going to have a great stat roll on it on top of that. I'll be posting these up for you guys. So thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure you pick up anything that you might be missing or want a better stat roll on. And again, as I said, tonight, twitch.tv/Ebontis, 7 p.m. Eastern, our podcast, The Last Word, episode number 107, will have Amaze on there. He's honestly an awesome streamer, very nice dude. Looking forward to talking about everything that happened on the Bungie reveals and the TWAB skill-based matchmaking, stuff like that as well. So see you guys tonight in the stream. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, hit that subscribe button and the alert bell. I'll keep more videos coming to you guys. Lots to cover with Season of Arrivals. Trust me, I'm not done. Lots of videos to go. Have a good one. I'll see you soon.